Wazye, Buju. You are now listening to Kahkenuh Aweyuk, Everyone Together on TikTok Radio, hosted by Kahkenuh Child and Family Services. We appreciate you tuning in to our weekly program every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. on Wawate Radio. Kahkenuh is a community-based child and family well-being agency rooted in and accountable to the First Nation communities we serve. We are here because we want to protect our children, help our families, and nurture our communities. On today's episode, we welcome special guest Garnet Angeconeb of Lac Seul First Nations. Garnet grew up on his family's traditional territory until the age of 7, when he was forced by the Government of Canada to go to Pelican Indian Residential School. Today, Garnet shares his story with Kahkenuh as we honor the healing journey of residential school survivors, which is a part of our Orange Shirt Day campaign. Kahkenuh encourages everyone to participate in Orange Shirt Day on September 30th. Kahkenuh thanks Garnet for allowing us to use these audio clips, which can be found on garnetsjourney.com and on YouTube. Please note that today's topic contains very sensitive subject matter and may trigger negative memories for survivors and their families. In the event of immediate distress, you can call the Indian Residential Schools Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419.
This is my home. This is Niguans Bay. And this is where I grew up as a little boy, from about 1955 to 1963. And in 1963 I was uprooted from here to attend Pelican Residential School in Seul Lookout. From a family perspective, we had grandparents, great-grandparents, parents, children, extended families living in about 4 different houses right across this bay here. My heart is always here. I have very pleasant memories of being here, of growing up. We completely lived off the land. You know, we used to go across the lake, about 2-3 miles across the lake, to the old Hudson Bay store to get some very basic grocery items such as tea, sugar, flour, and that kind of thing. But the rest of our grocery store was out on the land. And when I talk about the land, my parents and grandparents, they set nets, they harvested fish. We ate a lot of fish in our diet. We ate ducks and rabbits, and we totally lived off the land. And in the wintertime, again, we would set our nets in the wintertime in the ice and harvest fish, and again, moose hunt and that kind of thing. You know, the land was our grocery store. That's how we live.
On September 30th, Kahkenuh Child and Family Services invites you to participate in Orange Shirt Day to show support for residential school survivors. By wearing orange, we can stand together and honor the journey of healing and resilience of our Indigenous peoples. Commit to reconciliation and show your support by sharing your orange shirt post on social media using the hashtag #ICommitOSD before and on September 30th. Visit Kahkenuh.org to learn more or follow Kahkenuh on social media.
If you can imagine a 7-year-old boy, and in many cases students as young as 4 or 5 were taken away. But in my case, imagine a 7-year-old child coming from the bush, if you will. That's a shock. That is like coming from day into night at the snap of a finger. And without being really prepared for it. At the very minute I walked into the building here, their drastic change would happen to a 7-year-old, and those changes, or the effects of those changes, I still live with today. Even though my parents were with us, dropping us off, there was some very anxious moments of I didn't want them to leave, because I knew at some point that they would have to leave and I would be there by myself. Pretty scary thought when I think of it. and we traveled to Sioux Lookout by my dad's fishing boat, which is an all-day trip. It was about a 40-mile boat ride, and took us right to the old residential school. One of the first things they did was they made us take our clothes off, our clothes from home. We were issued new clothes, new pants, new underwear, socks, shoes. We had coveralls. We used to wear coveralls with rubber boots, and that's how we dressed to go play outside. You were issued a number. My number the first year when I was here was 22. Number 22 written on my clothes, my towel, toothbrush, hairbrush, everything was numbered. You were also known by number in many cases. Compared to the lifestyle that we left, in my case the trap line and living in Lac Seul First Nation territory, the life of a loving family, to a life of rule and doing things in a way were really foreign.
On September 30th, Kahkenuh Child and Family Services invites you to participate in Orange Shirt Day to show your support for residential school survivors. By wearing orange, we can stand together and honor the journey of healing and resilience of our Indigenous peoples. Commit to reconciliation and help show your support by sharing your orange shirt post on social media and using the hashtag #ICommitOSD leading up to and on September 30th. Visit Tikanagan.org to learn more or follow Tikanagan on social media.
It was a matter of government policy that kids were taken away to be institutionalized in residential schools. And various Christian denominations ran these institutions called Indian residential schools. There was a whole government agenda. There were actually threats of people being punished, parents being punished if they didn't let their children go to these schools. Literally gathered kids and piled them on these old bush planes. For example, the particular plane that people used to go on was called the Norseman. And the Indian agent would fly around in these, and they would gather kids and pack kids in these old airplanes, and the way they would take the kids to residential school. I think one of the things that survivors will tell you that we all have in common is that moment that we were actually separated from our parents. It's a very sad memory where you are actually taken away from the love of your mother and your father and institutionalized in a strange world, in a different world than what you're used to. The memories of that moment are still painful. It's one that will never be replaced no matter what you do. You lead a way of life, and particularly your family. That is one of the most painful experiences that the residential school system has left in the hearts of all who went to the school, is that painful memory, the actual separation. And there were many nights when you could hear the sobbing of small children, 5, 6, 7 years old, crying themselves to sleep, missing their mother, missing their father, missing their home. That was one of the things that happened in residential school, when they took you away to be educated under a new system, to be Christianized, to be made ordinary Canadians.
On September the 30th, Kahkenuh Child and Family Services invites you to participate in Orange Shirt Day to show support for residential school survivors. By wearing orange, we can stand together and honor the journey of healing and resilience of our Indigenous peoples. Commit to reconciliation and show your support by sharing your orange shirt post on social media using hashtag #ICommitOSD before and on September 30th. Visit Kahkenuh.org to learn more or follow Kahkenuh on social media.
I know that this is totally impossible, but I would give anything if I could turn the clock back. And continue on from the residential school system interrupted a way of life. I would give anything to get that back. So as I sit here, I often wonder, what would I have become if I didn't go to residential school? If I didn't go to residential school, who would Garnet Angeconeb be today? And so, when I think back about this place here, I'm really humbled by those memories of people, parents and grandparents, and how they wish the best for their people. You know, it's really coming back here in many ways is a spiritual rebirth for me. That I can only continue on to pass good things to my children and grandchildren and others. To say that there are gifts that we need to celebrate, no matter what we came through, that there is resiliency in our lives, and that we can come back to be healthy people, spiritually, physically, mentally, holistically, and pass on that good spirit to our children and grandchildren so that we can have healthy communities instead of what we have now today. And that's happening. Because as a people we are coming back in many ways, but it'll never be the same again. I come back here and I just really honor the memories that I have here of growing up. I can see that little boy across the lake. I could see that little boy, how happy he was when he was growing up there.
On September 30, Kahkenuh Child and Family Services invites you to participate in Orange Shirt Day to show support for residential school survivors. By wearing orange, we can stand together and honor the journey and healing and resilience of our Indigenous people. Commit to reconciliation and show your support by sharing your orange shirt post on social media using the hashtag #ICommitOSD before and on September 30. Visit Kahkenuh.org to learn more or follow us on social media. Ihima September and sumutanan ng Kahkenuh Child and Family Services kagagwit sa magwa tuwits tuyig Orange Shirt Day. Chinak tuin ewit gabawitok residential school gagandaw skuniwach. Kikskaman kamiskwadugak. Kuwaban tahiwe ewit gabawitok minektinan damak ugika musewinawa mina usib skat ziwinawa kijans ni minanak. Pagkatandazun ewit gabawistaman kamamin nasgateg widad zimitun. Himagay jagotoyan kamiskwadugak kimasnahigan himatabatsumonan. Ihiwe chiabat stoin winsoin ICommitOSD. Ihima mayam nanda sumitanagay ng September. Kiugan Kahkenuh.org kiabat wikkendaman nanda tsabmanzaw siyang ihima bin chibiwabek.
Kahkenuh thanks Garnet for allowing us to use these audio clips, which can be found on garnetsjourney.com and on YouTube. In the event of immediate distress, you can call the Indian Residential Schools Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419.